Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So, I'm trying to figure out if I want to talk basketball or if I want to explain to you guys what happened to me today. Kind of had a weird spiritual experience. I want to document it, but I don't want you guys to think I'm crazier than I actually am. But forget it. It is what it is. So this is what happened. I'm gonna tell you guys exactly what I went through this morning, which is a good thing. So, I take my little nap before work, like I always do after a breakfast and a workout and all that good stuff. And as I was in, it was about 20 minutes before it's time for me to get up and go to the shower and all that. I felt the presence of my mom, like literally enter my body, and I felt emotion like build up in my gut and start to rush up to my face, and my eyes started to cry. I was watering, crying like really boohooing like a baby. And all of a sudden, words started coming out of my mouth. And essentially, what the words were, more or less, was my mother saying to me that she was aware of the sacrifices that I'm making in my personal life, so aware of the pain, or not pain, but of what it is that I'm trying to do and how difficult it's been, and that she wishes that she were in the flesh so that she could tell me how much she's proud of what I'm doing, how proud she is of how I've persevered through certain obstacles that I've had to go through over the last 6 months, and that basically she was very thankful that God allowed her to connect with me because she felt like I needed to hear this, more or less. She felt like I needed confirmation that what I was doing was going to be okay, and that I was in the right space of mind in regards to what I'm doing, the sacrifices I'm making. So that was a very, very spiritual experience, and the important part of that for me was that I haven't cried as an adult. And I may have mentioned that on camera before, but I think the last time I cried, my mother was alive, and I was probably about 13 years old. In fact, I think it was like right after she had slapped me or something like that, some silly shit. But that was the very last time I cried until today. And to be honest with you, I wasn't sad. I wasn't sitting up saying, "Lord, let me speak to my mommy," or nothing like no. Nah, I was asleep regular, and this woke me up out of my sleep. This literally woke me up out of my sleep. And I think the part that really touched me was the fact that she, or whatever, it might have been my brain, I might be losing my mind, but whatever it was, but the spirit of the energy that came to me, what it was conveying was that no one is going to tell you that the sacrifices and the decisions that you're making are right, because most of the people in your life don't really know what you're doing. They don't know all that you've gone through. They don't know what battles you're fighting. They don't know what demons you're fighting. You don't know how hard you're trying. And that's really what it is, man. I want everybody to know. Um, I've had more difficult years in my life because obviously I went through the loss of my mother and loss of my father the same year, and went through some tough stuff here and there, some very difficult things. But this has been the most difficult year of my life as it pertains to me going uphill on goals that I'm trying to reach, putting in effort, being patient, sacrificing in terms of my money situation, living very, very, very below my means so that I can have money to invest, letting bills go by the wayside. I had, stuff like that. It's documented. I've told you guys I had my car repoed a couple months back just so that I can maintain my investments. And it's been so very hard. It's been one of the hardest things I've had to do, period, ever. Because growing up, this is also important. Growing up, I wasn't really the type of person that really ever did anything I didn't want to do. I was spoiled by my mother, raised by my mother, and a lot of that stuff that's in a man to make him just go and do the stuff that he needs to do. My mother only instilled but so much of that in me. She was more so along the lines of trying to keep me happy, trying to keep me just stable, because she knew how sensitive I was. So a lot of times, it was like I was getting away with stuff. She would, make sure that I was happy despite not really living up to the expectations of my responsibilities. And I don't blame my mom for that necessarily. She did the best she could. But unfortunately, when you're raising a boy, that can tend to be a little problematic, and it's harmed me in the sense that now I've had to fight myself more so than I'm fighting the world in regards to doing what I need to do. That's the reality of my circumstances, it's the reality of my mind. So I've done a good job over the last 6 months of kind of fighting those demons, and I think that's what the confirmation was today. Of course, you guys know about my back as well. the last 4 days I've been out of work, with the exception of yesterday, of course. But the previous 3 days I had been out of work, and leading back into my weekend, I had also been in bed for the day, my second day of my weekend. So it was like 4 straight days in bed with a bad back, and I had to take off work. And for me, growing up, this is also important to understand me. Growing up, I used to tell my mother every morning that my stomach hurt so I didn't have to go to school. And it was a really big thing. I'll probably make a whole video about it if I haven't already, but I would try to duck school as much as humanly possible. And it got to a point where she got so tired of me, tired of fighting me, tired of trying to deal with me while she's trying to get ready for work, and her son doesn't want to go to school. It's like she can't be sitting up here fighting me. So eventually she just let me do my thing. She lost her will to fight me about my education. And, because of it, I just grew weaker and weaker and weaker in that regard, in terms of me wanting to do things and seeing the fruit in doing things that I didn't want to do. I just wouldn't do it and didn't have to. And it was one of those type of situations where you grow up in that mindset, and when you get older, man, that is a hard way to think and expect good things to happen. And they weren't happening, and so, but at the same time, it's like, now that I've reached a point in my life where I've kind of gone through some things that I understand the importance of doing things that you don't want to do, I've really tried to apply that and in fact, defeat my own demons in that regard, defeat my own complacency demons that are so very, 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 very troubling to deal with internally. So I guess my mother was essentially trying to say to me, or what I was comforting myself, however you see this, was that I've done the right things, that I have reason to be relieved, that things are going to start getting better, the sacrifices are going to begin to start to pay off now, and that she felt so deeply that it was important that she reach out to me and say, yo, you're doing a good job. So that's what I took from it, man. I was crying like a baby, y'all. It was a real spiritual experience. I think about like when 10-4, thank you, sir. I was thinking about like when Mike Tyson was talking about how he took I forgot the name of it. It was like some very, very spiritual herb, like weed, but it's very spiritual, and it's like deeply goes into your spirit, drains your nose, and you crying, and you come out of it with like clarity. Well, I had a moment like that without the drug. That's essentially what that was for me. I don't know what you call that, dragon something. I have no idea what you call that stuff, but it's supposed to like put you through something very, very deep spiritually, and I think that's kind of the experience I had today. That's not abnormal for me. I've had a lot of spiritual experiences, so I'm kind of a weird guy in that way. But this was by far the most intense spiritual experience because of who it was that was visiting me and how familiar the passion of her words and the familiarity of the emotion in her words. I had seen her speak like this to me in the flesh. I had seen her be so adamant about making sure I understood that she was proud of me and how hard I was working in real life. I saw that before she passed. We'd had conversations like that over the years where she would reassure me that that I was doing the right thing. So I knew when I was speaking this way that these would be things that she would say. You know what I mean? But to be completely honest, I'm not separating the two. I really do feel like my mother visited me today. Like she literally spoke through me and like possessed me, more or less. So take it for what it's worth. For those who don't believe, just understand that some of us out here really, really genuinely experience things that we can't explain to others, but we'll do our best, and this is one of those. Spirituality is a complicated thing, but I'm a believer in God, and since I've been praying more weird coincidences have been visible for me to see. Timing stuff, numerology type stuff. There's a lot of that stuff going on in my life this year, and whatever happens next, I hope that the gap between the spiritual world and non-believers can kind of close. Not in the sense that we force people to believe what we want to believe, because that's bull crap, but more so explaining to people what it is that we're seeing, explaining to people why we have the strength that we have, and more so how to navigate around the parameters of religion to find your own spiritual space of peace and happiness and joy and spiritual equity, for which I believe in a great deal. Spiritual equity in a sense of wisdom, common sense, stuff that'll help us that isn't obtainable, isn't clothing, isn't money, isn't You know what I mean? Stuff that helps us on a more higher plane, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, man, thank you guys for listening to all this. This is not something for everybody. I get it. Some of y'all gonna look at me like, what the heck? But I think some of you guys will also be touched by what I'm saying because maybe you've experienced something similar to this. But my dead mom came to me today and told me that she's proud of me. That's the gist of it. My name is BDF44. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out.